I stood at my dining room table on a Thursday evening in September, surrounded by people I'd known for years, and felt my mind slipping away. My right hand wouldn't stop shaking. The fork I'd been holding clattered against the plate, once, twice, then fell to the floor with a metallic ring that seemed too loud in the suddenly quiet room. I tried to pick it up. My hand wouldn't cooperate. Jim Whitmore stopped mid-sentence, his wineglass frozen halfway to his mouth. Carol Kowalski's smile faded. Her husband Stan set down his napkin and leaned forward slightly, concern spreading across his face. Mrs. Eleanor Pemberton, 73 and sharp as ever, watched me with the kind of expression you'd give someone at a funeral. I tried to speak. Wanted to say I was fine. Just dropped my fork, no big deal. The words came out wrong, slurred, incomprehensible even to my own ears. That's when Blake moved. My son appeared at my side instantly, napkin in hand, the picture of devoted concern. He touched my shoulder gently. Dad, it's okay. Let me help you. His voice was so kind, so patient. The neighbors nodded approvingly. I couldn't make my mouth form words. Couldn't control the shaking in my hands. Couldn't understand why this was happening. Dr. Morrison had said years. She'd said I had years before symptoms got this severe. Blake crouched beside my chair, speaking in that soft tone you'd use with a confused child. It's all right, Dad. You're just having a rough evening. Let's get you cleaned up. He dabbed at the sauce I'd apparently spilled on my shirt. I didn't remember spilling it. The fear that gripped me then wasn't the shaking or the slurred speech. It was the confusion, the sense that my mind, the thing I'd relied on for 72 years, the thing that had taught physics to hundreds of students, that had calculated trajectories and built telescopes and understood the universe, was betraying me. Blake straightened up, addressing the table. His voice carried just the right mix of sadness and determination. I think it's time we talk about memory care options. I've been researching facilities. Toured 3 of them this week, actually. The words hit me like cold water. Memory care. 3 facilities. Carol reached across the table to squeeze my other hand, the one that wasn't shaking. Stan said something about his uncle, how the facility he went to was wonderful, really wonderful, the staff so caring. Blake pulled papers from somewhere. Had he brought them to dinner and spread them on the table beside my plate? Power of attorney documents. I could see the header even through my blurred vision. I need you to sign these, Dad, while you can still understand what you're signing. My stomach turned over. Mrs. Pemberton's voice came from across the table, warm and approving. You're so lucky to have such a devoted son, Leonard. So many children these days don't step up like this. The others murmured agreement. Blake was wonderful. Blake was doing the right thing. Blake was such a good son for coming back after all these years to help his father at his time of need. I stared at the papers, at Blake's hand offering me a pen, at the 4 faces around my table all looking at me with pity. 6 months ago, I'd sat in Dr. Morrison's office at Minneapolis General. She'd shown me the brain scans, explained the diagnosis calmly and thoroughly. Early-stage Parkinson's disease, Leonard. We're talking years before any significant decline. Years. You'll have plenty of good time ahead of you. I'd gone home and cried, not from fear, but from relief. Years. I could handle years. 2 weeks after that diagnosis, Blake showed up at my door with a suitcase. I hadn't seen my son in 5 years. 5 years since our last argument, since he'd stormed out saying I'd never understood him, never supported his dreams. 5 years of silence. But there he was, on my porch, eyes wet with tears. Dad, I heard about the diagnosis. I'm so sorry. I want to help. I know we haven't been close, but family is family. Let me be here for you. I'd let him in, let him move into his old bedroom. Let myself believe we were finally healing the rift that Ellen's death 4 years ago had only widened. When Blake offered to manage my medications, pharmacy runs, organizing pills, bringing them with meals so I wouldn't forget, I'd been grateful. One less thing to worry about. Now, sitting at this table with my hands shaking and my mind foggy, and Blake holding power of attorney papers, something whispered in the back of my consciousness. 2 weeks ago, before Blake came back, the tremor in my left hand had been barely noticeable, some stiffness in the mornings. Nothing like this. Nothing even close to this. Blake's voice pulled me back. Dad, can you sign here and here? His finger pointed to signature lines. Behind him, 4 neighbors watched with sympathy. My hand was still shaking when I picked up the pen. 2 days after the dinner party, I sat alone in my house, staring at the memory care brochures Blake had left on the kitchen table. Sunrise Gardens, Maple Ridge Senior Living, Evergreen Memory Care. The photographs all looked the same. Smiling elderly people in wheelchairs, bright common rooms with artificial plants, nurses in cheerful scrubs guiding confused residents through activities designed for children. I pushed the brochures away and walked to the bathroom. My morning routine, the routine Blake had established for me. The pill bottle sat on the counter where he'd left it. I picked it up, shook out 2 tablets into my palm, then stopped. Something made me look at the bottle more carefully. I counted the pills remaining. 5. Only 5 left. I turned the bottle to read the prescription label. Take 1 tablet twice daily. 30-day supply. Refilled September 4th. Today was September 12th. I stood there holding the bottle, doing the math in my head. The kind of simple calculation I'd done thousands of times teaching physics. Pills per day times days elapsed equals pills used. 30 pills minus pills used equals pills remaining. The math didn't work. 8 days, 2 pills per day, 16 pills used. The bottle should have 14 pills left. It had 5. I recounted them carefully, laying each pill on the counter. 1, 2, 3. My hands were steadier this morning than they'd been in weeks. The phone rang. I left the pills on the counter and answered. Patricia's voice came through warm and familiar. "Hey, Leonard, just checking in. How are you doing? My sister called every Sunday like clockwork. Today was Saturday." "I'm okay," I said. "You don't sound okay. What happened?" I told her about the dinner party, about dropping the fork, the slurred speech, Blake's announcement about memory care facilities, about signing papers I could barely read. Then, "How are you managing your medications?" "Blake handles that now. He picks them up from the pharmacy, organizes them for me, brings them with my meals. It's helpful, actually. One less thing to keep track of. When was your last refill?" I walked back to the bathroom, phone pressed to my ear. September 4th, 8 days ago. And how many pills are left in the bottle? I looked at the 5 pills lined up on the counter. 5. The silence that followed felt heavy. "Leonard, that's not right." Patricia's voice had changed, gone sharp and focused. "That bottle should last a month. 30 days. Even at 2 pills per day, you should have." She paused, calculating. 22 pills left. I stared at the 5 tablets. "Count them again for me, please." I did. The number didn't change. 5. Something cold settled in my chest. Not panic, not yet. Just recognition that something was very wrong. Patricia's next words came carefully, like she was walking on ice. "Leonard, I'm coming over tomorrow. Don't take any pills Blake gives you until I get there. Tell him you already took them. Can you do that?" After we hung up, I stood in the bathroom for a long time, looking at those 5 pills. Then I looked at myself in the mirror. My hands were barely shaking, just the usual slight tremor in my left hand that Dr. Morrison had explained was normal for early-stage Parkinson's, not the violent shaking from Thursday night. I went to my bedroom and lay down, but sleep didn't come. Instead, I reviewed memories like evidence at a trial. 6 months ago, Dr. Morrison's diagnosis, early-stage Parkinson's, years before significant decline. 2 weeks after diagnosis, Blake showing up with his suitcase, tears in his eyes, wanting to reconcile. 10 days ago, symptoms still mild, slight tremor in my left hand, some stiffness when I woke up. Blake volunteering to manage medications. "Let me handle the pharmacy runs and pill organization, Dad. One less thing for you to worry about." Last week, symptoms suddenly worse. Shaking, confusion, difficulty speaking. Thursday, the dinner party, the episode. Blake's prepared speech about memory care. Before Blake came back, I'd been managing, teaching a Tuesday night astronomy class at the community center, building a new telescope in my workshop, living my life. After Blake came back, everything started falling apart. I got up at 6 a.m. when I heard Blake moving around downstairs. Made myself walk to the kitchen normally, act normal. Blake was making breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, coffee. He smiled when he saw me. "Morning, Dad. How are you feeling?" "Better," I said. He set a plate in front of me, then reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 pills. "Here's your morning dose." I palmed them as I pretended to drink water, tucked them in my napkin when Blake turned to pour coffee. "Already took them," I said. "A few minutes ago. Sorry, should have waited for you." Blake's face flickered with something. Annoyance, concern, then smoothed back to kindness. "Oh, okay. Well, let me know if you need anything. I ate breakfast. Blake talked about the memory care facilities, how we should schedule tours next week, how the paperwork was almost ready. By afternoon, my head felt clearer than it had in days. By evening, the violent tremor in my right hand had decreased noticeably. I pretended to take Blake's dinner pills, palmed them, flushed them later. That night, I slept 6 hours straight, first time in 2 weeks. Sunday morning, Patricia arrived at 9. Blake had left for his shift at the car dealership. The house was empty. Patricia hugged me, then held me at arm's length, studying my face. Your hands are steadier. I stopped taking the pills Blake gives me, like you said. Patricia went straight to the kitchen, found the pill bottles in the cupboard. Blake controlled. She pulled out her phone and started photographing everything. The labels, the dates, the refill information. Then she pulled a calculator from her purse and started doing math, writing numbers on a notepad. Her face got grimmer with each calculation. Finally, she looked up at me. Leonard, these bottles are emptying in 10 to 12 days. They should last 30. What does that mean? She set down the calculator. I need you to give me blood and urine samples. Voluntarily. Right now. Why? Because I think Blake is overdosing you. The words hung in the kitchen between us. Patricia pulled specimen cups from her purse. She'd come prepared. I think he's giving you 3 or 4 times your prescribed dose. Parkinson's medication overdose causes severe tremors, confusion, rigidity, everything you experienced Thursday night. My hands started shaking again. Not from medication this time, from understanding. I provided the samples in my upstairs bathroom while Patricia waited in the hallway. Blood from a finger prick, urine in a sterile cup. She labeled everything carefully with my name, the date, the time. I watched her seal the containers in plastic bags, then place them in a small cooler she'd brought from her car. Where are you taking them? I asked. Midwest Diagnostic Labs. Patricia's voice was steady, professional. Dr. Sarah Chen runs it. I worked with her for 20 years at the hospital pharmacy. She'll do a full toxicology screen. Results in 3 days. And if you're right, if Blake is... I couldn't finish the sentence. Then we go to the police. Patricia drove away at 10 a.m. Blake came home at 3. He found me in the living room reading a physics journal Thomas Bradford had dropped off the day before. I'd been staring at the same page for an hour. How are you feeling, Dad? Fine. Good, actually. Blake smiled. That's great. Really great. He hesitated. Listen, I've been thinking, maybe we should move up those facility tours. Get you settled somewhere safe before. Before what? Before another episode. His voice was gentle, concerned. Thursday was scary, Dad. For both of us. I'm feeling better now. But Parkinson's is progressive. Dr. Morrison said that. The good days won't last forever. He was right about that, I thought. Dr. Morrison had said exactly that. What Blake didn't know was that Dr. Morrison had also said years, not weeks. The next 3 days crawled past. I continued palming Blake's pills, flushing them later. My tremors stayed mild. My mind stayed clear. Blake watched me with increasing frustration, though he tried to hide it. On Wednesday afternoon, Patricia called. Her voice was tight. Can you meet me at my house? Today? I told Blake I needed to visit Patricia. Just a normal visit. He offered to drive me. I said I could manage. It was only 2 hours, and the drive would be good for me. I saw something flash across his face. Something that wasn't concern. Patricia's house in Red Wing was a small brick ranch she'd bought after her husband died. She opened the door before I could knock, pulled me inside. The lab results were spread across her dining room table. She pointed to numbers I didn't understand. Medical terminology, chemical compounds, reference ranges. Here. Patricia's finger tapped a highlighted line. Carbidopa-levodopa levels. Your therapeutic range should be between 200 and 800 nanograms per milliliter. What are mine? 2,100. I sat down heavily in one of her chairs. Leonard, that's 350% of therapeutic levels. Patricia's voice shook slightly. That's not accidental. That's not you taking an extra pill by mistake. That's systematic overdosing. She pulled out more papers. Photographs she'd taken of my pill bottles. A notebook filled with calculations. Your bottles are refilled every 10 to 12 days. At prescribed dosage, they should last 30. She showed me the math, line by line. Blake is giving you 3 to 4 times your prescribed amount, every day. For months, I felt dizzy. Not from medication, from betrayal. From betrayal! Patricia wasn't finished. She pulled a manila folder from a drawer, opened it. Inside were photocopies of documents. I found these in your filing cabinet. Under insurance-life. Life insurance policy documents. My policy. The one I'd taken out 20 years ago when Blake was still in high school. Beneficiary designation. Updated 3 years ago during our brief reconciliation after Ellen died. Blake Hartwell. Death benefit, $400,000. Patricia watched my face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you have to see this. My son is trying to kill me. The words came out flat. Factual, like I was stating a physics principle. Yes, for $400,000. Patricia closed the folder gently. And possibly the house. If he gets conservatorship, he can access everything. We sat in silence for a long time. Outside, birds sang. A neighbor's dog barked twice and stopped. Normal sounds. Normal day. Nothing was normal. I need to call Dr. Morrison, Patricia said finally. With your permission. I nodded. Patricia made the call on speakerphone, explained everything, the pill depletion, the toxicology results, the insurance policy. Dr. Morrison listened without interrupting. When Patricia finished, Dr. Morrison asked to speak to me directly. Mr. Hartwell, I'm looking at your medical chart right now. 6 months of records. Your progression is medically impossible. What do you mean? Early-stage Parkinson's doesn't advance the way yours apparently has. The symptoms you displayed at that dinner party, your son described them to me when he called my office the next day. Those symptoms shouldn't appear for years. Maybe 5 years. Maybe 10. Blake called you? Friday morning. Said you'd had a severe episode. Asked if I could see you sooner than your scheduled appointment next week. I told him we'd keep the existing appointment unless it was an emergency. There was a pause. Then Dr. Morrison's voice came back harder. Mr. Hartwell, I'm legally obligated to report suspected elder abuse. I'm calling the police. The police came to Patricia's house that evening. Detective Carla Brennan from the Elder Abuse Unit. 52 years old, 26 years on the force. Patricia knew her from community volunteer work years ago. Detective Brennan spread everything across Patricia's dining room table. Toxicology results, pill bottle photographs, calculations, insurance policy, my medical records that Dr. Morrison had faxed over. She reviewed it all methodically, taking notes, asking questions. Finally, she looked up at me. This is strong evidence, Mr. Hartwell. But to prosecute, we need to catch him in the act. Would you be willing to wear a wire? My mouth went dry. What would I have to do? Your next appointment with Dr. Morrison is in 2 days, Tuesday at 10 a.m. I nodded. Blake knew about the appointment. He'd marked it on the kitchen calendar. We'll have you wear a recording device Tuesday morning. Detective Brennan's voice was calm, professional. You'll act completely normal. Take the pills Blake gives you at breakfast. I won't. You'll palm them like you've been doing. But we need him to give them to you on recording. We need his voice, his actions, ideally a phone conversation if he takes one. Anything that shows intent. What if he doesn't say anything incriminating? Then we have the medical evidence and your sister's testimony. But juries like recordings. Recordings are undeniable. I looked at Patricia. She squeezed my hand. Okay, I said. I'll do it. Detective Brennan nodded. I'll be at your house at 6 a.m. Tuesday with the equipment. Don't change your routine. Don't give Blake any reason to suspect. Can you do that? I spent 38 years teaching teenagers physics. I can pretend everything is normal for 48 hours. Good. She started gathering the documents. One more thing. Have you noticed Blake on the phone with anyone? Any conversations about money? Patricia answered. I checked Leonard's bank statements. Leonard pays most of Blake's bills, including his cell phone. She pulled out more papers. Blake's been calling a number in Minneapolis repeatedly. I had a friend trace it. Loan collection agency. How much does he owe? My friend couldn't get specifics, but the call frequency suggests significant debt and imminent deadline. Detective Brennan made a note. That establishes motive. Financial desperation plus large insurance payout equals premeditated murder. The word murder hung in the air. My son was trying to murder me. For money. I drove home that night carefully, hands steady on the wheel. Got home at 9 p.m. Blake was watching television in the living room. How's Patricia? He asked. Good. We had dinner, talked about old times. Blake smiled. That's nice, Dad. Really nice. He stood, stretched. I'm heading to bed. Big day tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Just work stuff. He paused at the bottom of the stairs. Don't forget, you've got Dr. Morrison Tuesday morning. I remember. I'll drive you. That would be helpful. Thank you. Blake went upstairs. I waited until I heard his bedroom door close, then went to the kitchen and stared at the pill bottles in the cupboard. 2 more days. I just had to survive 2 more days. Detective Brennan arrived at 6 a.m. Tuesday morning in an unmarked car. She parked 2 houses down, walked up my driveway carrying a leather bag that could have been anything. I let her in through the side door. Blake was still asleep upstairs. Detective Brennan pulled out equipment, a small recording device no bigger than a pack of gum, adhesive patches, a transmitter that looked like a cell phone. This goes inside your shirt pocket. She demonstrated on herself first. The microphone is here. It'll pick up everything within 15 feet. Don't touch it. Don't adjust it. Don't acknowledge it exists. She attached the device to my undershirt with medical adhesive, then had me put on my button-down shirt over it. The weight was barely noticeable. My partner, Detective Lou, and 2 uniformed officers will be in the parking lot outside Dr. Morrison's office. We'll monitor the feed in real time. If anything goes wrong, we're 30 seconds away. What could go wrong? If Blake realizes what's happening and becomes violent. Her eyes were steady on mine. Has he ever been violent with you? No, never. Good. She handed me a small business card. If at any point you feel unsafe, you say this phrase, "I need to use the restroom." That's our signal to come in immediately. I put the card in my wallet even though I'd already memorized the words. Upstairs, Blake's alarm went off at 6:30. I heard him moving around, shower running. Detective Brennan squeezed my shoulder once, then left through the side door. I made coffee. Normal morning routine. Blake came downstairs at 7 wearing slacks and a dress shirt. He had his dealership job at 9, would take me to my appointment first. "Morning, Dad. Sleep okay?" "Fine." He started making scrambled eggs while I sat at the kitchen table. The recording device pressed against my chest, invisible. Blake's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and I saw his jaw tighten. He answered, phone wedged between shoulder and ear while he stirred the eggs. "I told you, 90 days. That's what we agreed." A man's voice came through, tinny but audible, angry. I couldn't make out words, but I could hear the tone. Blake's hand gripped the spatula harder. "You've got 5 days, Blake. That's what we agreed. You're out of time." The voice got louder. I know. Blake glanced at me, then turned his back, lowering his voice. But I couldn't quite catch what he said next. Something about soon. Something about almost done. Then clearer. "He's almost gone." My blood went cold. The voice exploded through the phone speaker. 6 months! You said 3 months! Blake grabbed the pill bottle from the cupboard, twisted the cap off. I watched him dump pills onto the counter. 4 of them. He crushed them with the back of a spoon while holding the phone with his other hand. Old people die in those places. I'm helping it along. Trust me. 5 days, Blake. We're not patient people. The line went dead. Blake muttered something under his breath as he scraped the crushed pills into my bowl of oatmeal, stirred them in until they disappeared. "Just need a few more days, old man." He turned around, composing his face into a smile, and brought the bowl to the table. "Eat up, Dad. Big appointment today." I looked at the oatmeal, looked at my son, nodded. Blake went back to the stove to finish the eggs. I dumped the oatmeal into my napkin when he wasn't looking, folded it carefully, slipped it into my pocket. We left for Dr. Morrison's office at 9:15. Blake drove, made small talk about the weather, about work, about the Vikings game on Sunday. His voice was light, easy, like he hadn't just told someone he was murdering his father. I responded normally, commented on traffic, mentioned I'd like to watch the game. Inside, I counted my heartbeats. Wondered if Detective Brennan had heard everything. Wondered if the recording was clear enough. We arrived at Minneapolis General at 9:45. Blake parked near the neurology wing entrance. In the waiting room, Patricia was already there. She stood when we entered, hugged me. Blake smiled at her. "Good of you to come support Dad." "Of course." Patricia's voice was steady. "Family is family." We sat. Blake scrolled through his phone, relaxed and confident. "Just another routine checkup. At 10 exactly, the nurse called my name. "Leonard Hartwell, Dr. Morrison will see you now." Blake stood immediately. "I'll come back with you, Dad." The nurse smiled politely. "Dr. Morrison prefers to do neurological exams one-on-one first. Family can join for the discussion after. Hospital policy." I saw frustration flash across Blake's face before he covered it. "Of course, sure." He sat back down. "I'll be right here." Patricia followed me and the nurse down the hallway. Blake didn't question it. Supportive sister. Nothing unusual. Dr. Morrison's examination room was small and windowless. She closed the door behind us. "Mr. Hartwell." She shook my hand, then Patricia's. Her eyes went to my shirt pocket where the device was hidden. She gave the smallest nod. "Dr. Morrison examined me thoroughly. Had me walk across the room, touch my nose, follow her finger with my eyes. Tested my reflexes, my grip strength, my balance. She documented everything on her computer, typing quickly. Your tremor is significantly improved since I last saw you 6 weeks ago. Your motor control is good. Speech is clear. She looked at me directly. You're presenting as early-stage Parkinson's with appropriate symptom levels for someone 6 months post-diagnosis. She pulled up prescription records on her screen, turned the monitor so I could see. These are your refill records for the past 3 months. July 15th, July 27th, August 8th, August 20th, September 4th, September 16th. Every 10 to 12 days, I said quietly. Every 10 to 12 days, for prescriptions that should last 30 days. Dr. Morrison pulled out her phone, sent a text. 60 seconds later, there was a knock on the door. Detective Brennan entered with 2 uniformed officers. Blake was still in the waiting room, scrolling through his phone when the nurse asked him to come back. He walked down the hallway casually, expecting normal exam follow-up. He opened the examination room door and saw me sitting in the chair. Dr. Morrison at her desk. Patricia standing against the wall. 3 police officers in uniform. His face went white. Blake Hartwell? Detective Brennan's voice was calm and professional. I'm Detective Carla Brennan, Elder Abuse Unit, Minneapolis Police Department. Blake looked from face to face. What? What is this? We have a warrant for your arrest. For what? His voice pitched higher. I haven't done anything, Elder Abuse. Attempted fraud. Conspiracy to commit murder. This is insane. Blake turned to me. Dad, what's happening? Tell them this is crazy. I looked at my son and said nothing. Detective Brennan pulled out her phone, pressed play. Blake's voice filled the room. Old people die in those places. I'm helping it along. The sound of pills being crushed. Blake's voice again. Just need a few more days, old man. Blake's legs seemed to give out. He grabbed the examination table for support. That's taken out of context. We also have you on recording crushing medication into your father's food while discussing accelerating his death to collect life insurance money. Patricia stepped forward, pulled a folder from her purse. I found the life insurance policy, Blake. $400,000, and the toxicology results showing Leonard had 350% therapeutic levels in his system. Blake looked at her, then at me. His face had gone from white to gray. The pills? He was confused. I was trying to help. Dr. Morrison spoke quietly. Mr. Hartwell's symptom progression was medically impossible for his diagnosis. Early-stage Parkinson's doesn't advance in 3 months. You were poisoning him. No, I wouldn't. Detective Brennan nodded to the officers. They moved forward. Blake Hartwell, you're under arrest for elder abuse and conspiracy to commit murder. You have the right to remain silent. The officer pulled out handcuffs. Blake twisted toward me, desperate now. Dad, please. I'm your son. I made a mistake. The debts, they were going to hurt me. You were going to kill me. My voice came out steady, calm, like I was explaining a physics problem. No, I just needed the money. One of the officers took Blake's arm. Blake tried to pull away. Dad, please, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The officer put the handcuffs on. Blake was crying now, makeup running, the composed mask completely shattered. I don't know who you are. Blake stared at me. You're not my son anymore. My son died 5 years ago when he walked out. I don't know who you are, but you're not him. The officers led Blake toward the door. He kept twisting back, trying to see me, still protesting. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I was desperate. Please. The door closed behind them. The room was suddenly very quiet. I nodded, though I wasn't sure it was true. Detective Brennan put her phone away. We'll need your full statement, but with that recording and the medical evidence, he'll take a plea deal. You won't have to testify. How long? She considered. With the evidence we have, 6 to 8 years probably. Maybe more if the prosecutor pushes the attempted murder angle. 6 years. Blake would be 44 when he got out, still young enough to rebuild a life, if he wanted to. I sat in Dr. Morrison's examination room for a long time after everyone left except Patricia. She didn't say anything, just sat beside me, her hand in mine. Finally, I stood up. Let's go home. Your home or mine. Mine. I want to sleep in my own bed tonight. We walked out through the waiting room. The other patients stared. They'd heard the commotion, seen the police. I kept my head up and walked out into the September morning. The air smelled like rain coming. I took a deep breath and got into Patricia's car. Blake was held on $50,000 bail. He couldn't make it. His public defender met with the prosecutor 3 days after the arrest. The wire recording was damning. Blake's voice saying, "I'm helping it along," while crushing pills. The phone conversation about timelines and money. The muttered, "Just need a few more days, old man." She advised Blake to take the plea deal. 6 years for elder abuse and fraud. Attempted murder charge dropped. Blake signed the papers. The news coverage started immediately. Local man arrested for poisoning father ran on every network. My phone rang constantly. Former students, teaching colleagues, neighbors, church members. Patricia screened the calls, eventually just turned off the ringer. Jim Whitmore showed up at my door 2 days later. "Leonard, I'm so sorry. We were there at that dinner. We thought Blake was helping you. You didn't know. We told you how lucky you were to have such a devoted son." His voice cracked. "You believed what you saw." Blake made sure of that. Mrs. Pemberton came by the next day with a casserole, crying on Patricia's porch. "I told you how lucky you were. I said that to your face. You didn't know, Eleanor." Detective Brennan called on Wednesday. Blake's ex-wife Denise contacted me. She said Blake tried to get her to take out a life insurance policy naming him as beneficiary 3 years ago, right before their divorce. She refused. 3 years ago. The same time Blake convinced me to update my beneficiary designation. That's why she left him. She didn't trust his motivations. Blake's employer fired him. His co-workers distanced themselves. His few friends stopped visiting him in jail. Patricia helped me return home after a week. The house felt contaminated. We went through the kitchen systematically, threw out every piece of food Blake had touched. In his bedroom I found extra pill bottles hidden in his sock drawer. 6 of them. Different refill dates. He'd been stockpiling my medication. Patricia photographed them, called Detective Brennan. Dr. Morrison scheduled a full neurological workup. The results came back exactly as expected. Early-stage Parkinson's, manageable, appropriate for 6 months post-diagnosis. With correct medication dosage, my symptoms were minimal. Tremor in my left hand persisted but mild. Mind completely clear. You should have years of good quality life ahead of you, Leonard. I met with my estate attorney, updated my will, removed Blake as beneficiary from everything. Life insurance changed to Patricia with instructions for Parkinson's research. House would go to Patricia, then to my nephew Daniel. Patricia moved into my guest room. We called it temporary. We both knew it was permanent. Thomas Bradford visited in October with a proposal. The community center needs an instructor for introductory physics. Winter term starts in January. Would you consider teaching again? I don't know if I can. Your students need you, and maybe you need them. I told him I'd think about it. The sentencing hearing was December 15th. I attended and made a victim impact statement. I read from prepared notes. Blake Hartwell is my biological son, but he stopped being my son when he decided his debts were worth more than my life. He didn't just try to kill me physically. He tried to kill who I am, my dignity, my autonomy, my mind. The terror of thinking I was losing myself to disease is something I'll never forget. But worse than the fear was the betrayal. I trusted him. That trust is something he can never earn back. Blake tried to speak. "Dad, The judge cut him off. "Mr. Hartwell, you'll have opportunity during your statement." Blake's statement was short, read from paper his lawyer prepared. "I apologize for my actions. I was under financial stress and made terrible choices. I hope someday my father can forgive me." His voice was flat, emotionless, reading words he didn't mean. The judge sentenced Blake to 6 years in state prison. Blake showed no reaction as officers led him away. Outside the courthouse, I made a brief statement to reporters. Elder abuse happens in all kinds of families. Watch for the warning signs. Protect your loved ones. 4 months after sentencing, I stood in front of a community center classroom with 20 adult students waiting. I picked up the marker. My hands were steady except for the usual slight tremor in my left hand. I wrote on the whiteboard, Newton's first law. An object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. I turned to the class. For 6 months after my diagnosis, I thought I was the object at rest, declining inevitably. Turns out I was being acted upon by a force I didn't see. The students laughed gently. They knew my story, After class, a woman in her 50s approached. "Mr. Hardwell, you taught me physics in 1992. Jennifer Kwan, I became a mechanical engineer because of you." I remembered her bridge model, her MIT recommendation letter. I saw the news. "I'm so glad you're teaching again." "Me too." That evening, Patricia and I sat in my backyard with my telescope watching the Geminid meteor shower. The December sky was clear, stars brilliant. A meteor streaked across the black. "You know what I learned through all this?" I asked. "What?" "Trust is earned, not given. I trusted Blake because he was my son. Blood relation. I thought that meant something. It should mean something, but it doesn't automatically. Character means something. Actions mean something. Blake had biology but no character. Do you think he's sorry?" "I think he's sorry he got caught." "That's different." We watched in silence. Another meteor flashed and disappeared. "I'm grateful, though." "For what?" "That I get to be here, teaching, watching meteors, drinking tea with my sister." Blake tried to take that away. He failed. Patricia squeezed my hand. I adjusted the telescope focus. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. My life was my own again. If you're watching this, and you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, let me tell you something. Their betrayal doesn't define you. How you respond does. I could have let Blake's actions destroy me. Instead, I let them teach me about boundaries, about trust, about the difference between family and biology. Have you ever had to remind someone that trust is earned, not inherited? That love without respect is just manipulation wearing a mask. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones we'd never suspect. Pay attention. Trust your instincts. And if something feels wrong, investigate. Your life might depend on it. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to Elder Vengeance. Share your own experiences in the comments below. Until next time, remember, quiet doesn't mean weak. It just means observant. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply survive and rebuild.